Let's talk about how you might edit the music for an intro in Audacity. Here are some steps. Import the music, File, Import, Audio. Place the start of the music at the beginning of the timeline, or the 0-second mark. Identify the moment in the music where you want the talking to come in. Usually a good spot is a couple bars or measures into the music, about 4 to 8 seconds, where more of the instruments kick in. Use the envelope tool next to the cursor button and click on the sound wave at that moment to create a dot. Click to create a second dot next to the first dot and drag that second dot downward. You'll notice it will create a slope, or maybe a sideways funnel shape, and the sound waves will appear smaller. I would recommend lowering the music to about half the original amount or lower. Create a third dot a little farther down the timeline and drag it downward so that the quiet part of the music, where the talking will go, is one consistent level. Record your spoken intro on another track and slide it into place using the time shift tool so that the talking starts just after where the music gets quieter. After the talking for the intro is over, create a fourth dot on the music track and lower it even further so that the sound wave comes to a point about 4 or 5 seconds after the talking is done. This will create the fade out effect. Another way to do this is to use the selection tool cursor, highlight a section, then Effect, Fade Out. Now let's talk about shortening music tracks without fading out. This technique is a little more advanced and may take some practice, but can be a very effective way to edit music for an intro. Let's say you have a 2-minute song, and rather than having the intro where the music just fades out after the talking part is done, you want there to be a more defined ending to the intro, where you get to hear the last note of the song or the cymbal crash ring out. Here's how you do it. Identify where in the timeline you want the music to end. This will most likely be a few seconds after the talking for the intro is over. Music is usually made in bars or measures consisting of 4 beats. Listen to the music, and using the selection tool, click on the point where one bar ends and another begins. It helps to zoom in on the sound waves to get a more precise point. Also, to make this edit sound natural, you usually want to make sure it's also the ending of a chord progression, which typically happens every 4 or 8 bars. After you've selected your edit point, click Edit, Labels, Add Label at Selection. This will produce a label track right below the music where we now have marked our edit point. Now, using the arrow bar, move to the end of the song and find the last note. This will typically be the last spike you see in the sound wave before the note rings out. Zoom in, and with your selection tool, click on the spot just before the spike, then click Edit, Labels, Add Label at Selection. You will now have your second edit point marked. Now, zoom out so you can see the entire song with the labels. Hover your mouse on the music sound wave just above the first label you made. You'll see a yellow line appear. Click and hold while dragging your cursor all the way to the end of the song until you get to the second label and another yellow line appears. Release the click. You've now selected the part of the song you'll be deleting. Go ahead and push the delete key or click Edit Delete. You'll see everything that was selected disappear and the last note of the song will shift into place. Listen through and make sure it sounds natural and on beat. If it sounds off, click Undo or Ctrl-Z. Move your labels accordingly and try again. You can also use these steps to create short bumper music for transitions out of longer songs. Now let's talk about editing music for outros. This mostly follows the same principles as editing an intro. When the main part of the content of the episode is over, you can use the same music as your intro and have the song kick in to lead into the speaking of the outro. Another common style is to fade in the music for the outro, but have it overlap a bit with the main content of the episode before the outro talking comes in. After the speaking for the outro is over, you can use the envelope tool or the fade out effect to create the fade out like we did before. Usually 5 to 10 seconds is a good amount for a fade out. If you want a more defined ending rather than a fade out, use the techniques we discussed earlier to shorten the music. Let's talk about lengthening music. Let's say you have a 2-minute piece of music, but your outro has 3 minutes of talking, and you want the music to play throughout the whole thing. Here's how you would lengthen the music so that it fits the right length for your talking. First, we'll want to find a portion of the music that we can loop or repeat to make the song naturally sound longer. This usually means listening to the song and finding a section of 4 or 8 bars where the chord progression cycles through one time. Zoom in on the start point of this chord progression, and right before the sound wave first spikes, click on the selection tool, then click Edit, Labels, Add Label at Selection. Just like before, this will produce a label track right below the music where we now have marked our first edit point. Repeat this step with the endpoint of the chord progression section. Zoom out so you can see the whole section. Like before, hover your mouse on the music sound wave just above the first label you made. You'll see a yellow line appear. Click and hold while dragging your cursor until you get to the second label, and another yellow line appears. Release the click. You've now selected the part of the song you'll be looping. Click Edit, Copy, or Ctrl-C. Now deselect this section by either clicking Select, None, or by clicking on another track. Next, hover your mouse once again on the music sound wave over where the second label is until you see the yellow line appear. Now click Edit, Paste, or Ctrl-V. This will add the looped section into the recording and extend the overall length. Keep deselecting and repasting the music at the same label point until you've reached the desired length for the song. Combine the music you selected and the dialogue you recorded and create your intro and outro using the techniques of fading or adjusting the length of the music.